Okay, so now we are on the sewing machine. First thing I'm doing is to sew my facing. This is my back piece. So I'll be turning this to the front, placing this front to front. If you can see here, you can see that I've notched this point. There's a point here that I have notched. Front to front, and then I'll sew. I'll be sewing by 1/2 inch because that's the amount of sewing allowance that I left for this. So after sewing, I'm going to notch. The notching helps us, or helps the facing to slip over. Like when we turn it over, it helps it to stay really, really flat. If you don't notch, you might have an issue with this staying over. It will just be coming forward, and you don't want that. So now after notching, you top stitch. So this is what my top stitching looks like. I hope you can see it because my thread is black. Okay, so we're done with our back and then we're going to work on the front. So like I did for the back, I'm going to be placing it front to front. Now the first place I would sew is my curve. For both of them, I'll be sewing my curve first. I'm placing them like this because I want it to just be like on the same line. So just like we did for the back, you're going to notch this place. So now I have notched this part of our neckline. So now I'm going to top stitch. Don't forget that we haven't closed this part. We're going to do that right now after top stitching. Good. So now we are going to sew this part, the curve, the V part of it. I'll be sewing with 0.25 because I don't want to take in so much. I don't want the V to be too wide. So if you want it wide, which is absolutely fine, if you want it wide, you can do like maybe 0.3 or 0.5. But because I don't want it wide, I'm just going to be doing 0.2. Like I want it to be as close as possible. Also, if you're using a soft fabric, let me say crepe, like a mix of crepe and Ankara fabric, or even just Ankara self, you should put forcible interface, which we call air stay in Niger. You should put that on the neckline, just 1 inch here. It shouldn't be anything much. I normally do it just so that that part stays firm, because if there's nothing there to make it firm, you know, it might just be opening and having all sorts of forms. So yeah, that's that about that. So now I'm going to sew this part. So when you get to the midpoint here, find your midpoint. Should be somewhere here. Find your midpoint. You can actually iron so that the line guides you. You find your midpoint, you raise your foot, you turn this like this, make a tiny dash using just something small. You don't want like a very big dash, just something tiny. And then you turn this like this and continue. Okay, so we're done here. So now we need to notch this part, because if we don't notch it, it won't be able to open up like nicely to the back. So I'm just going to cut open and stop right in front of the stitch. Can you see this? Okay. So if your own opening is kind of wide, then you would need to notch the middle here and here as well. So if I turn this over, it would conveniently turn over because of the notch that we have made. So by the time we iron it, it would press down nicely. Can you see? It would just stay down nicely. And I started doing that dash thing because I realized that when I just make like a sharp ending and just stop here and then make a sharp V over there, that place begins to tear because the stitch there is not exactly strong. So that's why I started doing the tiny dash. It's almost like not noticeable. That's why I started doing the tiny dash. So yeah, we have done our facing for the back and for the front. Now I'm going to join both back and front together. Okay, so I'm going to be placing my back on my front like this. So this is my back and this is my front. So I'm placing it like this, both of them. So now there are two ways for us to sew this thing. There are two ways. One way is to sew your facing each other like this. So basically you'll be doing a straight sewing from this point all the way. Or you have your fronts, you place your back on your front, making sure like this. I just turned it around so you can see what the back is looking like. So you place both of them together, making sure that they are like really close. And then you take your back facing and cover this one like this. So you cover it and you join every other part of it together, like the remaining facing and then the shoulder. So like this. This is the second way you can do it. One way is the first one I said, just sew a straight line like, and then this is the second way. I prefer this method because it just, it's neater and doesn't give me issues when I'm ironing and when I need to like put the hemming gum. So we're going to sew now so that you see what it looks like. So I'm going to sew it such that I hide this text, the text on the fabric. I want to be able to make sure that I hide that. So this is what it will look like when I turn it over. Let me turn this off. So this is what this back would look like. And this is what it looks like. So basically we're trying to make sure that this front is equal, this place. Because sometimes you may sew it and maybe the front is moving back a bit. Basically it doesn't match. So what we're trying to avoid by doing this method is to make sure that this place matches like this so that it looks really, really clean. So when you place it like that, you pin and then you sew. So I'm going to sew the other side and then we can close up the sides. Okay, so I've joined both sides of my shoulder. So this is the point where, matter of fact, when I'm sewing like at work for clients and all of that, I make sure that I weave my facing before I even come and start sewing it. And then you weave here as well, this top part. And then our pockets, I always weave this top part and this curved part, like just so that to have like really, really neat finishing if you're not using lining. For when I'm making like really simple shape dresses like this, I don't really use lining. Number one, because the Nigerian weather is really hot, and number two, it's just casual. Yeah, so this is what your facing will be like. So you can iron and do all of that good stuff. So now the next thing is for us to close the sides, and we're using 0.75 sewing allowance for that part. And then our hemming is 1 inch hemming allowance, And then when I'm done sewing the sides, we can do our turn up. So we're getting to the pocket part, this place. We're getting to this place. So I'm going to make sure that my stitch passes through this point. Okay, so the sides of the dress is closed already, like close it up. So the next thing is our turn up. This is the second method of putting turn up. The first video, I'm going to link the first video somewhere up here or down here so that you can see how that one is done. This is the second method. I like to call this the detached method because the facing, we didn't add the facing allowance to the sleeve. It's separate from it. So this is one. Now we are going to measure what we have on our sleeve. We'll measure here to here. What I have is 7.5 inches. So now I'm going to measure here to here as well. And then I'll mark what I have left. I'll measure here to here because what I need is 7.5 because my dress is 7.5. So let me pin this down so it doesn't move. So I'm going to measure 7.5 here, and I'll measure it from here too. And then I'll draw a line across, just so that it's very, very straight. Good. So now I'm going to sew that line. Good, so I have this now, and then I'm just going to trim off like some part of it because I don't want it to be bulky inside. And then I would open up. You don't have to do all of this. I'm just doing it so that it's less bulky. And fold like this. So this is what we have. This is our turn up. Now, I'm going to place this here. This is the back of our dress. Please take notes. Let me bring this further. Good. So this is the back. As you can see, my sewing is here and here. So I'm going to place this like this inside here. So I'll find the joining points. Okay, good. And place it here such that both seam lines are meeting each other, and then this other part would be here. So I'm placing it like this because when we are done sewing, we're going to turn it inside. So this is our normal turn up, but we are sewing it on the back. So I'll stitch here. So now I'm going to sew round. I'll sew it round and then I'll turn it to the front so you see what it looks like. So after sewing, I'm now going to turn this inside. So let me turn the dress inside out so that you see what the turn up would look like inside. So this is our sleeve, and this is the turn up. So now I'm just going to make sure that this my sewing is facing up like this, and then I'll bring this down like this. So this is the point where you can iron and tack it. So after sewing the turn up, you're supposed to tack this point so that it doesn't move. Before, I normally just put hemming gum inside here so it will stay down, but after like 4 to 5 washing, the hemming gum would come off, so I started tacking it. So I just tack here, and then this other part tack here as well so that it doesn't come off. So that's how you put your turn up. So the next thing we're going to do now is to hem the dress, because we're done. We're actually done. So I'll just put the second turn up and then hem the dress, and we'll see what it looks like. After sewing your two sides, this part, this armhole part that we curved, remember I said we're going to curve this part in the armhole, this place, we need to notch it so that it will open, but you need to weave here first of all before you notch. So I'm notching it like this. I'm opening this part up, and then I'll come in here more and open up again. So the aim is to make sure that when you open it, when you turn the dress to the front, it lies flat. If you don't notch, it's not going to lie flat. So our dress is done. I'm just going to iron and then show you what it looks like while I am wearing it. It really came out nice, came out really good. Neckline is straight and nice looking. Our turn up is looking great. Everything is looking well done. Our pocket is lying really flat. It's not obvious that there's a pocket over there. So that's how an inseam pocket should be. And then our hemming looks great. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please share with anybody you know that may need the knowledge. You can actually start a business selling simple shift dresses and all of that. Like it's a really big thing because people wear it a lot these days. So thank you for watching. Share, like, subscribe. Bye.